and fighting for. Last week we talked about, breaking bad habits from the pandemic and just getting back and started into exercising again, being healthy again. And this week we're talking about being performance ready.
All right, in today's discussion, we'll talk about a schedule for being performance ready, what workouts actually look like in order to be performance ready, and how we set goals to get in the best shape possible. All right, so when it comes to looking stage ready, whether we're talking about a costume or your dress or whatever you're wearing, there are a couple key considerations that we want to make. Number one, schedule is key, okay? We want to be consistent in the things that we do. We want to have a set strength training routine. We want to have a set cardiovascular routine, as well as understanding what we don't do in order to be most successful. Number two, understanding that not all areas of our body are created equal. And one of the errors that I see with a lot of singers that are preparing for specific roles or to look a certain way on stage is that we're doing a lot of total body stuff, a lot of push-ups, a lot of deadlifting, a lot of things that work the entire body. This is, in this scenario, this is actually when we want to devote a little bit more isolation work with certain areas of our body. Number one being our shoulders, okay? Because our shoulders are visible on stage. We want these areas to really pop and kind of show off definition. Number two, sort of our horizontal pulling, okay? Kind of this motion, because this motion is going to give us sort of that V shape, okay? It's going to help to accentuate your dress. It's going to narrow the waist a little bit, or the appearance of the waist. And number three, we also want to do a little bit more core work in a specific way, because that's going to help to drive optimal postural changes, but also a flat stomach, which is going to be beneficial in terms of what we look like in our dress or our costume. Okay, so that said, from a scheduling standpoint, what I like to do is devote 3 days to more intense strength training, where we're focusing on driving a little bit more strength. Whereas we have 3 days where we're doing a little bit more isolation work with cardio. Okay, and the reason that is because we kind of have this high-low schedule where we do stuff that's really intense. The next day we recover and we just do stuff that's, a little bit maybe easier to our nervous system, but still allows our muscles to develop, but yet we're still recovering, and then we sort of rinse and repeat. That type of schedule is also going to allow you to continue to perform without a lot of stress on your body, and really be optimal as far as our recovery goes. Okay, so in this next few videos, I'm going to demonstrate what a strength training and cardio day looks like for our day, for our kind of more intense days, and then what a sort of more of a cardio and I call it accessory work, where we're working a little bit more on shoulders and abs, that kind of thing looks like. Okay, and we'll talk about putting it all together. So for our higher intensity day, okay, when I say higher intensity, what we're going to do on this day is combine our heavier strength training with our more intense, brief cardio. Okay, you can also consider this high intensity training. This is going to provide us the sort of the intensity that we need to get our heart rate up, to help our body to burn fat a little bit better, and to build sort of the muscle tone and definition that we want. Okay, on this day, we want to keep our work very intense and brief, as opposed to doing a lot of reps and sets. Okay, this workout will take maybe 45 minutes at tops. We want to keep it, we want to keep the reps low, maybe 5 to 8 reps at the very most. And we want to keep our cardio intense, so no more than 30 seconds, trying to do as much as we possibly can. So when we talk about the way the session is structured, I would have you do 4 exercises of strength training first. Okay, our exercises are going to be a pushing exercise for your upper body, a pulling exercise for your upper body, an exercise for the front of your legs, and an exercise for the back of the legs. I'm going to show you some examples in a second. For cardio, we're going to do 30 seconds of really, really hard work. We're going to do 60 seconds of rest where we fully recover, because the key denominator here is that we're trying to work as hard as we can and lift as heavy as I can. And that's relative to whoever I'm dealing with. So when we talk about our strength training first, okay, we're going to say, as an example, we're going to say 3 sets of 5 to 8 reps for each exercise. So for our pushing exercise, we're just going to do a push-up. Okay, I'm assuming that you don't have a lot of equipment other than, let's say, a dumbbell. Okay, the push-up is the hardest push-up that I can do. So I'm going to come down to the ground and pop back up. I'm going to lower slowly, pop back up, and I'm going to try to do that for 8 reps, up to 8 reps. Okay, I'm going to find the heaviest weight that I can do for 5 to 8 reps. I'm going to come down slow, and I'm going to pop up fast. Okay, for pulling, I can do something like a one-arm row. Or if I have it available, I can do a heavy lat pull down. That's another good one. Okay, and for the back of my legs, for my hamstrings, I can do something like a single leg RDL with a heavier weight, or I can do something like a single leg hip thrust. Okay, where weight's on my hip here, and I'm coming up and down. Again, I'm going up fast, coming down slow. For cardio, I want to pick an exercise that is a little bit more total body in nature, but I want to move as quickly as I possibly can. Sometimes I'll go back and forth between the two. But let's say I pick a mountain climber. Okay, I go for 30 seconds, as hard as I possibly can. I recover for 60 seconds, let my heart rate come down, repeat that anywhere from 5 to 10 times. Okay, and I can do something like a jump squat, where again, I'm moving as quickly as I can for 5 to 10 rounds, and then I relax. Okay, so we've got our four strength training exercises. Do those as a circuit, back to back, for 3 sets of 5 to 8. Use the heaviest rep weight that you can, or hardest difficult things that you can for 3 sets. And then we have our cardio, maybe 5 rounds of 2 exercises, 30 seconds on, 60 seconds off. As an example, you can do a little bit more, a little bit less time. Go as hard as you possibly can. Get your heart rate up as high as you can. That's our goal. Make today intense. So for our lower intensity day, okay, we want on this day, we want to put in sort of more of our bodybuilding movements where we're doing higher volume but at a much lighter weight. Okay, we're working on the areas that we really want to develop that are a little bit smaller, but we want to show off. Okay, so number one, that would be our shoulders. Okay, so for that, I can include an exercise for my front delts, an exercise for my side delts, okay, and even an exercise for my back where I was doing a rear delt fly here. Okay, what I might do in this scenario, 3 sets of 20, but again, this weight I think is like 7 pounds. You might use as little as 3, all right? So the key with that is that you really start to feel your muscle burn. Okay, not to the point where you're like, oh, I can't move my arm anymore, but to the point where just everything is burning. It kind of feels like acid is in your muscle almost. Okay, so that's our goal. That's kind of pump work, we call it. All right, you can say your muscles swelling up almost. Okay, so a couple more exercises. We would want to, maybe do 2 to 3 sets of bicep curls, tricep extensions. Okay, and then finishing off with something like a seated lat pull down, where if you're at the gym, you could grab your weight and you could do something like this where you sit down and start to grab, a lat pull down machine where you're sitting down and you're pulling down. Or if you don't have that available, okay, I could grab a band and I could do something where I'm just pulling the band down behind my head. But again, for each of those exercises, we're going to say 2 to 3 sets of 20, make the muscles burn. That's going to ensure that, that stuff is not going to make you super sore, but it is going to start to develop those areas in conjunction with the heavier strength training that we're doing. Okay. Now, the other part of today is that we're going to do more cardio, but it's going to be very low intensity. Okay, where it's going to be walking in a treadmill, doing your stair stepper, maybe going for a jog if that's your thing. But it's got to be at a low intensity enough where you can keep going. It's maybe about a 6 out of 10 in terms of intensity. It's not going to jack your heart rate up. Your heart should be at a kind of a constant level where it's, you're able to breathe through your nose, kind of like we talked about last week, okay? I call this our insurance policy because this is going to help us to burn some extra calories, and it's also going to help us recover because we're moving everything, okay? We're moving everything around, and so it's got to be at a level that's low enough that we're burning our calories, but yet we're not contributing to, like, I'm getting super fatigued from this, right? So when you're done, you'll actually feel better almost as if you stretch or something. So we've got our cardio that I would do second, and we've got our auxiliary work I would do first. And again, with that workout, you're looking at cardio for maybe 30 minutes, and you're looking at maybe about 20 minutes of pump work or strength training that you might do at the gym or home. So give that a go, and then alternate days. Okay, do your more intense day on Monday, do your auxiliary day where you're doing your lower intensity cardio on Tuesday, and then repeat that pattern. All right, so just as a quick recap, okay, we talked about our harder strength training, our harder days and our easier days. Okay, and what we mean by that is one day we're emphasizing heavier strength training and more intense cardio. Okay, that's going to give our body the intensity it needs to help to burn more calories at rest, as well as the fatigue necessary to really allow the stuff that we do on day 2 to have more of an effect. Okay, and the stuff that we do on day 2, we call our easier or more volume-esque day, is going to be our lateral raises, our front raises, the areas that we want to develop for our upper body to show off and address, okay, followed by longer duration cardio. From a nutritional standpoint, what I've also found to be effective is to do maybe a higher carbohydrate day on our more intense days when I'm eating a little bit more carbs, because that's going to allow me to recover a little bit better. And then in my my more volume-esque days, I'm eating lower carb, okay? And that's not something that you have to do. That's just something that I found to be personally effective with my clients. So, you've heard carb cycling before. Higher days, we have higher carbs. Lower days, we have lower carbs, okay? So give that a go. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. I hope you enjoy.